Nintendo. The video game console market completely crashed in 1983 and Nintendo was instrumental in reviving it. And they just never stopped. So how has a playing card company founded in 1889 managed to dominate the console industry for the last several decades? A huge part of that answer is hardware, the evolution of Nintendo consoles. Nintendo Entertainment System. It retained a lot of the external design elements and is pretty much what got released. It was first run in a limited test launch of 100,000 systems in New York City, with a release date of October 18, 1985, and then through a series of marketing deals was rolled out to the whole country. The NES has an 8-bit microprocessor based on a MOS Technology 6502. Eventually it was necessary for them to create a 16-bit product and, well, they went above and beyond when they did. In Japan, the Super Famicom was released on Wednesday, November 21st, 1990. The 300,000 units sold out within a few hours. It caused such an issue with work schedules and people simply just being out, the Japanese government had to ask video game manufacturers to begin scheduling console releases on weekends. Over a few years created Project Reality, which was renamed to Nintendo Ultra 64 and then renamed to Nintendo 64. Now, the Nintendo 64 starts to resemble a computer just a little bit more on account it's based on a Silicon Graphics workstation. It has a 64-bit NEC CPU in it, running at 93.75 MHz, which is a little less than 1/10 of a gigahertz, but at the time, frankly, this was quite good. In 2001, both Japan and North America got the Nintendo GameCube. The GameCube was actually significantly more powerful than the Nintendo 64. It had a 485 MHz IBM PowerPC CPU and a 162 MHz ATI GPU that had some pretty significant upgrades. For one, it had 24 megabytes of SRAM in just the GPU. Nintendo, like I said earlier though, had other plans. They created a motion controller for it called the Nunchuck. Now you could plug a GameCube controller into it and play a game just like anything else, but using a gyroscope and an IR sensor you were actually able to use motion controls. Now the Nintendo Wii did significantly better than the GameCube, and the reason for this was it was geared towards the entire family. The next system Nintendo created was intended to capitalize on the success of the Wii, but also bring it into a more modern, quote-unquote, AAA friendly architecture, meaning it was able to make HD graphics, and although it wasn't quite as powerful as the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, it was quite a bit more powerful than the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. The Nintendo Switch console consists of an actual console, which could also be called a tablet or a handheld on its own, and a dock, which the dock itself kind of charges it, plugs into various things, and is essentially used as the means to plug the gaming system into the TV. The Switch did something similar to what the Wii did, which was sell very well and put them in a class of their own, but this time, it's not specifically because the system's weaker than the other ones. Yes, it certainly is weaker than the other main systems on the market right now, but we're now kind of living in a time period where that matters a lot less. Relatively speaking, all video game consoles are pretty powerful now. And on top of that, more and more developers are adopting style as a means to differentiate themselves from other developers, as opposed to endlessly attempting to cross the uncanny valley. I think this is a good development, and I'm very excited for what happens with the Nintendo Switch during its lifespan. Plus, the games that are already on it, although there aren't a huge number of them, are pretty good. Which era of Nintendo do you think was the absolute best?